Welcome to Six Gun Guitars Luthier Lessons. I had a couple questions about the video over tinting the oil finishes with the artist's colors. So I'm going to show you another way to do this. The first method was applying it directly to the wood, and you can do that and you can cut it back, and that's pretty controllable. It's pretty easy. It applies a lot of color though. It's a very, very bold color change. So what I'm going to show you to do this time is how to take your tru-oil and mix it with a little bit of your artist's color paints in a separate container, and how to apply that. So essentially all you're going to need, just like last time, is tru-oil in the bottle, and then some of the Winsor & Newton artist paints, so you can kind of see that a little bit better. Same ones we used last time. And go down to Walmart or wherever and just get yourself a tiny little baby food jar. They're made of glass, so everything mixes in them really nice. Find the cheapest few that you can find, empty them out, hot water, clean them really well. And then you can use that as your mixing container. When you mix this, however, it's going to skin over because this is a big jar. So either you got to fill it most of the way so you eliminate a lot of the oxygen so that way you don't skin over, or just mix up about as much as you think you're going to need, maybe a little bit more just to be on the safe side, and then chuck it when you're done. But I'm going to take you over to the bench, show you how to mix this stuff up, and show you how to apply it. So here's what you need in order to do this. You take your tru-oil, just straight out of the jar. The artist color paints. This is a black, or a lamp black. So I'm just demonstrating this one. You would use this if you wanted to do kind of something where you're going to tone out a little bit of gray, or give it kind of a charcoal look to the guitar, to the piece that you're working on. So just take the jar and add some of the tru-oil to it. This tru-oil is looking a little older, but I'm not going to do a ton, just because I don't want to have a lot of this stuff. I just really don't want to have a ton of it left over. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take this, and I'm going to start with just a smaller board and just do a quick dab of this stuff. Again, this isn't the best rag for it, but I just want to do a quick dab right on the wood itself for a comparison piece, so you can see what it looks like before and after. Now again, this is an alternate to the method of putting it directly on, which allows you a little bit more control. So there's the tru-oil just by itself, and there's comparison to our sample board. So there's a little bit of a difference, not a ton. It's a very basic light finish. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my artist color here, and you kind of have to play around with this and play a little chemistry set. It's going to take some time to get it down and get it right, but I'm going to put a fairly decent amount in here, about a 1 inch goober, I guess you could call it, and get that in there. And then let me cap this back up, and then what you want to do is go ahead and start pulverizing it, which it doesn't take very much because it's just basically pigment and linseed oil, and that's pretty much it anyway. So when you're mixing it with the tru-oil, it's going to be a pretty easy mix because you're mixing it in the same thing that it's cut with anyway. So you want to get this mixed up well. Like I said, it's not too hard to mix up, but it does take a few seconds. So get it mixed up really, really well. Kind of take a look at that. That's starting to look pretty good. Now if you want to add more to this, after you do a test, you can either add more oil if you need to lighten the color. You can add more of the pigment if you need to darken it. Okay. So that's pretty good. I got a lot of it in there. So now we've got that. We've got our piece here. I'm going to go ahead and gather up a little bit of it and kind of put this on. And again, this is going to give us the look of the oil with a little bit of black. Not a ton, but and honestly you can use any color you want. I just picked black because it's I've already used the blue and the red in a couple other videos, so I want to see what the black kind of looks like. It gives it kind of an aged look to it. A little bit of darkness kind of to it. And that's it. And it's a little bit more controllable. It's a lot lighter, and it's a lot easier to work with than if you're going, not necessarily easier, but it's, you can get a lighter color if you go this route instead of applying it directly as in the previous video. Now it is a pigment, so if your finish underneath has scratches or has sanding marks or anything like that, the pigment's going to lodge in those things. And there's a perfect example right there. There's some scratching, and that's where the pigment decided to live. So like we've always said, if you don't sand really well, your finish isn't meant to fix bad sanding. Your finish is going to make bad sanding look even worse. So pigment's landed in this thing. And again, this is just a test board, so it really doesn't matter. But if this was a guitar, or this was a piece of furniture, you know, your customer and you're going to be probably upset with those results. Just because you work so hard to get to the point where you're finishing that everyone skips maybe the last hour that it would take to get all the sanding right, and you end up with something like that. So, but there's our comparison. Now again, if I want to darken it up, I can either apply more coats or I can add some more pigment to that and keep on going. But a little bit more controllable, a little lighter. Let this dry out completely and then go ahead and coat it with just the regular tru-oil all by itself. Nice, light, easy coats. And dry out completely, I mean a couple of days. I mean, let it really dry out. So then you come back, trap it in with a couple of layers of the tru-oil, maybe 4 or 5, something like that. And then you can go ahead and you can buff the tru-oil or do whatever you decide to do with the tru-oil to get whatever sheen you're looking for. But again, it's just regular old artist colors. You can get these at Michael's, you can get them at Hobby Lobby. You just want to make sure you find something that the vehicle is pure linseed oil. You want something that's cut with linseed oil holding the pigment together, so that way when you mix it with the linseed oil that's in the tru-oil, you get a nice good mix. And again, baby food jars, you know, or modeling jars, find the cheapest ones you can find, and either chuck it when you're done with it or make sure you fill up an entire jar of the stuff so that way it doesn't skin over, because the oil is going to dry out. But there's our control with just the tru-oil, and there's our tru-oil with the pigment. So you can definitely do a lot with this stuff. I mean, you could lay a ground of a color like this that's kind of dark and weathered, you know, and then you could lay a color, you know, over it that has maybe just a tinge of red or a tinge of brown to it. You're going to build up that layer of color. You're really going to get some three-dimensionality to it. I mean, you could really concoct, you know, a incredible finishing recipe, you know, of doing, you know, a basic wash. You have a very weak, you know, dark pigment or light pigment, and then coming across with another pigment and another color, you know, and then finally trapping it in with something like a, you know, just the clear coats of the tru-oil. Maybe trap it in several of them so you get some of the ambering effect. And there's a lot of things that you can do with these artist paints, and a lot of things that you can do with tru-oil. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email at sixgunguitars@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. But this is, again, an alternate method to applying the pigment direct, is to go ahead and mix it. And the only thing you got to monkey with is your proportions. You know, so if it's a little bit too light, add a little bit more pigment. If it's a little bit too dark, add a little bit more oil. Or you can let this dry, come back and do another coat, and it'll be a little bit darker. But that is that. You know, and again, any questions, just go ahead and shoot me an email, sixgunguitars@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to help you out.